Okay, cool. So let's kick it off. Appreciate you, Victor, for bringing us all here today on Digital Hollywood. Really excited to be in the conversation with you guys now that we just had a pre-conversation and we basically did the panel. We'll do it all over again. Love everything that you guys have been all doing in the space. I think it's really interesting in the world of NFTs. We started really, really, really fast, and now it feels like we've been in it for years, and it's really only been a few months since this is blown up, but each of you brings something truly exciting to the table in the sense that you've been in it before the race really started. So I want to go around the little squares and everyone jump in, give a quick introduction of you. I guess the thing you're most excited about that you've done in the last month, and then we'll go from there and dig in deep on celebrities and the power of celebrity in the world of NFTs. So Leslie, ladies first, why don't you kick it off?
Thanks. So I'm Leslie Silverman. I'm an agent at UTA. I'm spearheading our digital assets initiative at UTA. And I've been at the agency for a little over, actually almost 6 years now. And I came over from my legal practice where I was an art attorney to start the fine arts division at UTA. So that's where I've spent most of my time at UTA, but over the past several months, starting at the end of last year, we started really understanding the opportunity for our clients in the NFT space and in the digital asset space more broadly. And so, what I'm really proud of is the fact that as an agency, we kind of are first movers. We were the first to have a fine arts division, the first to have a digital talent division, and we planted our flag early with our digital assets initiative. And over the past several months, it's been really exciting getting to work with all of the agency's clients and helping them access the NFT space and the digital asset space. I keep going back to digital assets. We strategically positioned our division that way because we think there's a broader opportunity in the kind of creator currency space and in fandom more broadly. So we've spent a lot of time launching projects, over a dozen with our clients over the past several months, and we have a couple dozen more lined up with our clients. And what I'm proudest of is just that we have a breadth and a depth of education and understanding of the landscape to offer to our clients. But one project that I will just highlight is that in mid-March, we did a drop with our client Halsey that was incredibly successful just from a storytelling perspective. This is a mega artist in the music world who had the opportunity for the first time to showcase her visual artwork. And I thought that was a really unique and authentic way to leverage this new marketplace.
I love that. And Casey, I want to toss it over to you, but Leslie, I want to bring us back after this to that point of digital asset, because it's not just an NFT. And we've seen so many of these conversations around NFTs focusing and kind of putting us into a box around how people think of what an NFT is. And truly, this is the era of digital collectibles as a whole. And that branches off into a million different assets. So we'll get into that. Casey, why don't you jump in and give us an overview of you and what you've been up to in the space? Oh, hang on, you're muted.
That was me. I did it. Hi, I'm Casey Mcgrath, the co-founder and CCO of Night After Night. Been in a production company into an agency over the last 16, 17 years. And we come from the production space. We hang on to that production mentality of like anything's possible, say yes, figure it out, bring the spirit of that into a brand management agency, creative agency, really focused in on working directly with artists and directly with brands. And then eventually in the intersection of those two spaces in artist brand partnerships and building shared value campaigns around that to benefit both parties as a unique offering and unique expertise, really built on an agenda that's very personal for me, which is, providing alternate pathways of revenue for artists in a world that's undervaluing music and creativity in all kinds of different ways, where you can't generate money the way that you traditionally would have because of what you were built to do, born to do, and now you need to find money in interesting ways and trying to figure out if, asking myself the question, are brands the answer for the future of things like the music industry as the music industry continues to topple in 19 different ways? Tremendous challenges there on both sides of the table, to be fair. And then NFTs become a potential new avenue to, democratize, decentralize, put the power back in the hands of the creator, direct to consumer, et cetera, and all of those buzzwords that were the dream of yesterday, potentially the reality of today. At the time, the reality of the day now, I think, more so than when we were considering it. So that's where we are now. Our heads are sort of down in that space. The model at my agency is shifting. We're sort of pushing chips in. It is, we're talking to, as everybody on this panel is, so many different people every day as the phone rings. The majority of it is, questions, but a lot of them are also, we have this way in, we have this way in, and just trying to see how, we can achieve the exact same things that we've been working to achieve with these new opportunities that are here, and the excitement around that is sort of like where we really are right now and invested in. In terms of recent projects and proud of, that being your question, I will stick to the script and talk about King's thing, and just saying that was really important because it was, if you're in any way familiar with that artist, it was a huge risk. It was a bold move, and the pride part of it is definitely about, venturing out onto that thin ice and stepping on it pretty hard and saying, it's okay, it's thick enough, come out here. And that really was the agenda. We believed in it. They had the courage to do it. And now, I think it legitimized it for a lot of people, as did, the work with Gronkowski and everybody else around the table as well, being those first ones out there, discovering that canyon and figuring out how to get across it is something to be proud of. So.
Absolutely. I think the first people that go out, it's the risk of you don't know what you're going to see, but it's also you can pivot faster because you did it. So Joe, Adam, jump in. You guys obviously went very early with Gronk in the space, but in general, where you are with Medium Rare and your thoughts on just brand building events. There's so much that you guys touch that digital assets and collectibles will go into. Give us a bit about what you guys are up to, and I mean, there's so many things you've dropped recently, but give us a highlight maybe of a super recent one.
Yeah, I think happy to. I'll touch on just a quick little bit of background, then hand it over to Adam for some of the NFTs. But I think what's really unique is our company really specializes in partnering with celebrities, global icons, really kind of historic IP to launch entertainment properties, right? Usually in the form of live events. Throughout the pandemic, we shifted more to broadcast, and we really make kind of incredible noise and create new revenue sources for our partners. And when we saw the NFT market bubbling up, made a lot of sense for us to really get involved at an early point and leverage some of the great partners that we already have in this new space. And that really started with Rob Gronkowski, with our approach with him. And we saw the success of Top Shot. And we were actually baffled that no athlete had taken it into their own hands to launch their own digital collection. And luckily, we were able to move, quick with Rob and prove the market value of it. But Adam, why don't you go into that a little bit more?
Yeah, without a doubt. When we went to Rob, it was early days. It was late February, early March. And that seems like years ago now, as you said early on, Shara, and that's sort of, it's unbelievable how fast this train is moving. And, we went to Rob, and Rob wasn't too familiar with NFT space, and he wasn't, it was funny. He knew more about crypto than you would expect. I think it's definitely becoming a thing in the locker room, and you're seeing NFL players little by little that are taking their contracts or their signing bonus, in some form of cryptocurrency. So these players have a better idea about it than the average fan would expect. So Rob had that understanding, and we said, look, Rob, you have this really unique opportunity to be the first major athlete to do your own NFT, and explain to him what that meant and what that could do. And, we said, look, we don't know if this is a good idea or a bad idea. And this could be a $10,000 idea or a $10 million idea. but you're not, it's really awesome. You're going to look like a hero off the field. It's going to show everyone how entrepreneurial you are, and let's give it a try. And he said, let's go for it. So from idea to execution with Rob was less than 2 weeks. From him literally not knowing what an NFT was to him having one of the highest grossing NFTs at the time was a quick 2 week period. But Rob wanted to do anything he could to put the work in, right? He did Clubhouse, he did a Discord, he did all the media. He kept his money in Ethereum even. Like he didn't take the bag and run. And really that catapulted us as medium rare into the space. Seeing the success with Rob, and I think we had a lot of eyes on us in the sports world. Hey, if Rob Gronkowski works, then I as an athlete should work as well. And we do a lot of cool things that are public facing, and we always get inbound emails. Our inboxes the week after the Gronk drop have never looked like that. Literally hundreds and hundreds of emails, like athletes we all know and love to people I've never heard of, begging us to do an NFT. Most people are actually just asking us sending us their address and saying, you can send my money here, because I have more social media followers than Gronk. So
but it is an NFT world, right? Money's floating from the sky. Anyone can get it. Well, no, it doesn't.
Everyone just thinks it's magical money, and they're like, Gronk has 5 million Instagram followers. I have 8 million. So if he did 2 million, that means I'm going to do 4 million. So here's where you can send my check. So we had to deal with a little bit of that. And in all honesty, we turned down about, say, of the 500 inbounds, we turned down 499 of them. We just didn't see a story. We didn't see a narrative. We didn't see a partner that was going to put the work in, or do the right thing, or just anything that was interesting enough to do in the space. And one email did stand out, and that was the Golden State Warriors. And that was pretty cool to get, an inbound cold email, Golden State Warriors, and saying, saw what you did with Gronk. We want to do it we want to be the first NBA team, hopefully the first pro sports team. So about 2 weeks ago from today, we did the Golden State Warriors drop. That one went on to be very successful. It grossed about $2 million US. They actually had one item that set the OpenSea 1-of-1 record at the time, which was $873,000 US for one NFT, which was, I don't think anyone could have predicted that or expected that, but we're obviously pretty happy about it now. And yeah, that's sort of catapulted us now into this new world. We went from getting inbound emails from athletes to now getting inbound cold emails from professional sports teams. So that's pretty cool. I never thought medium rare would be in the position. We feel like we're interviewing these teams. We're not just saying, hey, you're the Lakers, let's work together.
We'll take the Lakers, but everyone else.
Yeah, we'll take the Lakers, exactly. But no, it's really sitting down and understanding, like, well, what do you have to NFT? Is someone on the organization
forward?
Yeah, are you guys going to do X, Y, and Z on the marketing front? Is there a face of it that's going to, go on Clubhouse? Is there a face that's willing to do Discord? Is there a face that's willing to do 3 hours of media? And if there's not, then sorry, we don't want to work with you, which I never thought we'd turn down a multi-billion-dollar sports organization, but it's pretty cool, and we're in this unique spot now, and it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's amazing, and congratulations to you guys for taking the risk. I think it's so interesting that you said, oh, Gronk was idea to 2 weeks launch. That's a testament to how you guys had looked at the space and your foresight to get into the space, because you couldn't have pitched him the idea and then figured out what to do. So I think a lot of people aren't realizing how much has gone into these early drops. People think that the FOMO and the gold rush that you both touched on, people are now just rushing, multiplying the social followings, as you said, and being like, I want to get in. And they don't realize that the overall strategy, the creative and narrative thought process that are going into these early drops that you've all been a part of are what has to go into them. You can't just decide to do a drop and find success. And there has to be a why, which I want to get to. So let's dive into kind of the overall power of celebrity. So Leslie, I want to come to you because you brought up Halsey and the ability to tell a story and to really bring the art in what she's done. And I don't need you to dive in so heavily to Halsey specifically, but Adam and Joe, you also brought up the critical nature of looking at people who want to get into the NFT landscape and talk about what story do you have to tell, and why is there a reason to put your name and your brand and your celebrity likeness onto a collectible. Someone has to want to collect this item. And so you have to give them a reason why. So Leslie, why don't you jump in first, and same Casey, you did it with Kings of Leon. Let's talk about why to do this. Why are you telling your clients, and just even forget what you're telling your clients. If for you as a leader in this space, what do you believe is the reason for a celebrity to jump into doing an NFT or creating a digital asset type of area of their business?
Yeah. Well, first of all, my original excitement about this space was really coming from my background as an advocate for artists. I saw that there was a space where creators, digital creators who'd never really been embraced and loved by the more mainstream contemporary art community, were making money for what they were doing. And it's something that, you know, was exciting to me on its face. And then when I dug deeper and understood the implication of artists also being able to participate in their secondary market, you know, which is something that we probably won't have the time to dig deeper into today, but something that has obviously shifted and changed the deeper my knowledge of this space has gotten. The fact that artists could participate in their secondary market was really exciting to me. It's something that has no parallel in the contemporary art world, and something that the art world has tried to address and really failed to. And so, yes, of course, you know, there are opportunities for celebrities, and that's what we're talking about today. But really, what I understood was that there is an opportunity to tell a story and have an authentic voice in a space where you could be a creator and use different paintbrushes, so to speak. And the conversations that we have with clients today about the opportunity in the NFT space still has that genesis point. It's like, what authentic story do you want to tell? Why do you care about this space? And do you have the ability to really participate? What I love about the NFT space is that there's a real community there, both from a collector standpoint and a creator standpoint. And that community has the ability to sniff out people who are coming in with you know, purely financial based motives. And so, you know, we're helping our clients tell authentic stories, generate meaningful content, because I think that, you know, a lot has been said in the press and all around this space about, you know, the longer term value proposition for NFTs and digital collectibles. And what will stand the test of time is unique and meaningful uses of this technology. And I think that that's what we're challenging our clients to do. And I am not proactively going out to, you know, tons and tons of people and saying, come and, you know, get in on the gold rush. Like, we're really being thoughtful and responsive and, you know, putting together meaningful opportunities that make sense for this space. So it all boils down to authentic storytelling and longer term value proposition. You know, of course, move quickly, but think about, you know, what we're actually doing and whether it even makes sense for this space to begin with.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Casey. On that point in long-term thinking, when you came out of the gate early with Kings of Leon, obviously with your creative agency, and same Adam and Joe with you guys, because you're coming to this as a producer and creative thinker, how are you thinking about the consistency of these drops? With Kings of Leon, Casey, was it, we're going to do this first drop and then we'll see what happens and then we'll schedule drops after that? What's even the thinking now that you've been out of the gate, you've learned a lot? Are you going back at it to develop a level of consistency with individual artists while you get other artists up and running?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I definitely am a a long-term brand health person just across the board. It's been like a soapbox and a podium to pound for me forever. I mean, quarterly reporting and stuff like that with brands has been like the nemesis of me. Like, we can do better work. Let's not be short-sighted. Like, you need to be thinking about your advocates and reward them and all those types of things that I've been preaching forever, like really lends itself to this conversation. So when taking all of that experience over decades of time and preaching that to Kings of Leon in this moment was about long-term from day one. This is not this quick thing. This is something that, don't bother picking up the NFT flag if you're not ready to run the marathon with it, because, there's optics to that, there's protection to be put into place there. Kings of Leon are professional wearers of a bullseye on their back, no matter what they do. I deal with that all the time and all kinds of stuff. And I knew that I was going to be asking them to take that risk because, it's just part of their reality. And this was like a real risk because of that. And I said, so just make sure that you're ready to double down, keep it going, and we plan to. I think that to sort of piggyback on some things that Leslie was saying, that if you touch NFTs right now, you're really picking up the burden and the responsibility of demystifying what they are and educating people on the potential of what they can do in the long term. And it's, if you are just thinking about, and we were talking before we even fully started about like, is it about, money or, like that, like quick fix or the long-term thinking. And the metric is what we were talking about at that time. I think we're on the edge of the metric kind of shifting to like what success looks like, because we can't keep measuring on like, how big can the payday be for much longer? And so that metric needs to be like, what are you doing? How are you educating people on the potential of this? How it can fix the broken pieces of this industry. Certainly what Leslie was saying about the issues that have been in the art space with those secondary sales and all those different issues and all the potential for things that all the wrongs that can be righted. So, I mean, with Kings, for example, we've already started to play around with, giving the people that have purchased the NFT album, free bonus tracks that nobody else gets. And I think that it's just one of those things where once people see that, oh, there's a community being built and they got it and I didn't, oh, I get it. Like, I'm not in that, they're being rewarded for that. And we want to do more and more about that. I mean, the technology about what a smart contract can do is also like rapidly trying to keep up with the dreams of people like that are on this call about what we want to do, about building a community and how we can have rewards put into those communities and some of the limitations that are currently there and how we can fix them. But to loop back to the question, like long-term is an absolute mandate if you're going to get into the space, to prove that you understand that this rooting for NFTs is rooting against like the very obvious bad people, like major this, big that, like this is about getting back to putting the power back in the hands of the creator and make that the mission. And you have to walk the talk in order to, establish yourself as somebody in this space, because people are savvy and they're looking and they're smart.
Yeah, I know the depth of this is the secondary market, and I do want to touch on that a little bit. I want to talk about what scale is here, because when we think about digital collectibles, they're collectibles. So there's an inherent scarcity and limited nature to them. What we talked about prior to launching or jumping onto this panel is also really interesting, which is that we're playing in such early days where the whales are such a considerable part of the sale of these NFTs. And a lot of the early sales have been really weighted in large crypto early whales who have the money to spend and who want to have these ones of ones, and they're coming in at these $400,000, $800,000 price points to grab those collectibles because they have the foresight, because they've been in the community and they're believers of the space. So they're coming in and grabbing these limited edition items, and we're not seeing mass consumers come in at the scale that we know that they will. And so scale is a really interesting topic here, which is, when it scales to mass consumers, if we think about like Gronk in an arena, and if he's playing a game, how can that 80,000 fan base engage with NFTs with a player, it can get really, really big. Adam and Joe, will you guys jump in to how you're thinking about the scale? Are you trying to keep your minds on kind of, well, let's have KPIs for these early drops and see what it becomes? Do you think ultimately the price point of these limited edition NFT is going to come down and the number of NFTs that are available goes up? What is your view on scale?
Yeah, that's a really good point. You're spot on right now. Right today, when we did the Warriors, we had 327 items. Those 327 items, individual NFTs, were bought by about 80 different buyers. When we did Gronk, we had 349 NFTs individual, and same thing with about 80 buyers. So there's really whales coming in, and there was one whale on Gronk that bought. He bought like 50 or 60. He or she bought 50 or 60 items. On the Warriors, there was one account that came in and just was in it to win it. He or she won all 6 championship rings, and then started a bidding war on the 1 of 1, which went for 873,000. Their last bid on that one was 815,000, and those whales sort of made or break the drop for today's standards. And it's really crazy, right? That this amazing big drop came down to 1 or 2 whales, making it successful from a financial standpoint. And that's good, and that's also scary, right? You're hoping that in this world of 7 billion people, that you're going to find 1 or 2 whales that are interested in this NFT you put out. Otherwise, quite frankly, if the whale on the Warriors, the account name was Coin United, if Coin United didn't come in the Warriors drop, it probably would have been a failure by the NBA and Warrior standards from a financial metric. So Coin United, this one account, sort of changed the course of sports NFTs in entirety, which is
on
wild.
Both of ours, on Gronk as well. And I think what's really interesting to add to that is our approach has been pairing unique, either physical experiences or physical items or live experiences. And I think what we've actually discovered through our last 2 NFTs is that these whales are much more interested and focused on a physical item versus a live experience. These whales want to remain anonymous for the most part. They don't necessarily care about the in-person experience. And our biggest bidder on Gronk had the opportunity to go to a game, to meet Rob, to get his autograph, to hang out with him. Never heard from him. He never claimed his prize. He spent $433,000 on the card, didn't want to go to the game. And then in the case of the Warriors, where we set the OpenSea record at the 850,000 approximately, that came with a limited edition, one-time only 6x championship ring that the Warriors and ourselves created just for this NFT drop. And obviously pairing the digital with the physical for that ring proved to be a good strategy. So I think as we move forward with these drops, we're going to focus less on the live experience and really narrow down what is that once in a lifetime opportunity that one has an amazing digital NFT, and then also comes with that physical. How do we pair it? And then how do we make a lot of noise around it? How do we create excitement in the community? And that's really where we spend most of our time planning these drops.
I just say 2 things about that. Number one, I think it's so fascinating, the sort of goalposts keep moving in terms of what a great asset is in the NFT space. And I have said since day one that, NFT for NFT's sake, like the purely digital collectible or digital art piece will have a lifespan. But what I'm more excited about is the ways in which people will innovate and pair this technology with real world experiences, objects. Like, I think there's a future in which, you buy a car, you get an NFT, you buy a house, you get an NFT. Like it's, that piece of it, I think, is really interesting. And the other thing is that these big, sort of celebrity backdrops, they're serving a broader purpose, as you mentioned, Shara, like it's early days, right? And it is kind of scary that, the entire value of a collection can be driven by one or a couple of, well capitalized purchasers. But what they're doing is generating awareness of the opportunity in the space, you know, and there's been this sort of inflection point during this hype cycle where more people are paying attention to this space than ever. I mean, I read the art industry trades, and every day there is an article about the NFT space, mostly critical because that's just, you know, the art world's way. But the awareness of the space and the eyeballs that it's generating, I think will ensure its longevity, which is very exciting.
And
On,
Sarah, can I say something? Just
Yeah,
because
please.
since we had both experiences and objects in the King's Drop, and we're weeks away from that now, and we're learning about how much people care about redeeming on those experiences and versus the objects, and can build on that a little bit because we've already had an experience. I've already met 3 out of the 5 golden ticket buyers in person because we went to.
Did you have concert yet, Casey,
Awesome.
with that? Or
Well,
were you just meeting and facilitating what's to come?
We had the unveiling of a exhibit at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for the NFT ticket as a first of its kind, NFT album as a first of its kind,
Very
the
cool.
Hall of Fame. And we did that in Cleveland. So while we were in Cleveland, we also banged out the opening night of the NFL draft performance. And so we just reached out to the golden ticket holders and said, this is surprise. This is not technically in the fine
Your
print,
redemption,
but-
sure.
but you can come on in if you want. 3 out of 5 said, I'm in. Came in, we flew them in, we met them. They came into the exhibit, private tour of the Hall of Fame, came to the draft, we went out to dinner, went to the casino, and we all hung out. And what was really interesting was that 3 of 5 did decide to take us up on that experience and sort of on short notice too, drop everything and get going, go out into a public gathering during a pandemic, and all the barriers to that experience, they leapt over them passionately and enthusiastically. And what was most fascinating was that they were 3 different ways in. There were 3 different targets on a Venn diagram without an NFT. They had basically no overlap. One was a philanthropic organization that was interested in giving money to the Crew Nation charity. One was a very young, I think 23, 24-year-old like crypto billionaire person who was speculative in the space, but also a fan. How much of a fan I couldn't really suss out, but a fan in his words. And then a third was like a diehard fan that was not super high net worth, that really scraped it together, had no crypto, had no idea what was going on, panicked and got in there and went into the bidding and won.
So this was their first purchase as an NFT. That's very interesting as a quote unquote whale.
North of $200,000 purchase. Didn't have any cryptocurrency and acquired it on the spot out of pure fandom and wanting that experience because of the experience part of the offer, not because of the NFT or any understanding of the potential value for that or that part of the story. So meeting all 3 of them and sitting together at a table with them was like the best panel ever. Like, okay, how do we get here? All 3 of you are north of $200,000, 3 different ways in, and you're brought together by the same offering, and you're all here at the NFL draft. Who's even a football fan? You know, out of this, but they didn't seem like football fans. But we're here and we're hanging out. So that was to me was really fascinating, and to see that was there and to sort of build that actual relationship. They all met the band. They were all hanging out. We were having a good time, and it was super exciting. And now I know these people. I'm looking forward to seeing them at their show. I know where they live. Oh, you're going to be at the Forum show in LA, and this date that I almost just said out loud. And we're going to see you there. That's so exciting, and that's going to be great. And so that's really it was an interesting thing. But then also on the object side, we sold 6,500, et cetera, physical $50 mass NFTs, 5,000 of which I think I know the answer to this, that 5,000 of those were to people that didn't have any cryptocurrency and never bought anything before in their life, their first purchase. And our Discord was like very hand-holding, like what is going on? What are these gas fees? How do I get crypto? How do I get my wallet set up? And all that stuff. And that was like a huge, we knew that going in that we're selling to fans that have never even invested $1 in the stock market. Now, how are we going to get them to understand that this $50 purchase of an album is an investment, there's value, but it's also the spirit thing, and they did it. And so that was like very, very, very much for me the moment where I said it's working. Like people are spending hours of their day trying to open wallets and get crypto, like daunting for us, daunting for them, like exponentially. And they're going through that, getting hit with gas fees that were more than the price of the album itself and agreeing to it and moving forward. And now those people are seeing those rewards. Those albums are all worth much more than what they paid. The secondary market on them have had some significant sales and everything. So both that experience and that object are in our drop, and that sort of one of a kind, rare early moment. Things have sort of evolved since then, even. But good learnings in both the value and the draw of an experience, the utility of an experience, and the sort of like easier to understand nature of a $50 NFT that comes with an object that might cost $50 in the real world.
The takeaways from this are absolutely insane when you guys go into the details, and I appreciate everyone's transparency about what they've been doing, because there's incredible learnings from it, which to show how small this space truly is right now is fascinating. The fact that one individual could tip the scale for what the NBA potentially goes to do in this space as a whole. We can all sit on this panel and kind of laugh because we know how being at the forefront and taking these risks and seeing these findings, and you're all truly looking at this to learn. Casey, all the things you just said are incredibly interesting, because a lot of music artists who have dropped have admitted that not one fan attempted to purchase anything that they've dropped. And what Joe, you said about the winner of that one of one with Gronk not even wanting to necessarily appear to go meet him, it shows that the consumers, whether they're intimate in crypto and have the experience and in the community, or they're just fans who are coming and learning and trying to set up their wallets, no one knows even what the value is to themselves. They're probably just trying to get into the hype, or saying, oh, well, I am a fan and I want to be a part of this. And
really an investment, I think, though, right, Charlie? Yeah. Like that's how they see it. And I think with those Gronk buyers and our Warriors buyers, a big part of our storyline is this is history. This is the first sports team that will launch an NFT, and this will go down in history, and that retains the value. And that's really how we position these. So they're investments with long-term value, and we're not looking to just do another Gronk collection next week. And, Rob, for example, is really calculated on that and doesn't want to just be putting these out and deflating the value of his existing drops. So I think, that giving the buyer that confidence that these are truly investments is why we're seeing so many buyers come into the space that aren't necessarily Gronk fans or Warriors fans or Kings of Leon fans in that regard.
The value is, I couldn't agree more. Finding the value, and the value might be specific to individuals, and it'll really be an incredible learning experience in the next even month of what we're going to see. Before we wrap up, since you guys are all so deep in this, I want to kind of talk about the finance. Leslie, you brought up something earlier before we started about the quick rise of the guarantee, the advance on a sale. I want us to quickly jump into where we see this going in the next couple of months, because this is moving so quickly. What new paradigms do you think we're going to see as it relates to how either these, frankly, marketplaces, because they're becoming commoditized so quickly, they're going to have to step up to be able to bring in the talent, and the talent is going to frankly have to make a commitment and investment in themselves and their brand to lean into this space. What do you think we're going to see start to pop up as it relates to the way companies and celebrities play in this space as it relates to finance and deals?
Just to touch on what I mentioned before we jumped into the panel is it's been fascinating to watch this marketplace, the broader NFT and digital assets ecosystem evolve in the past 3 months or 4 months or whenever, we started really diving into this space, like I said, over the past several months. But the evolution has been rapid and really massive. And the thing that we're beginning to see, just as of a few weeks ago, I said, is that there are specific marketplaces, and like in this case, we could essentially call them buyers, who are looking to talent to legitimize their platforms, and in doing so are willing to write significant minimum guarantees or advance checks out to talent. And I think that obviously is going to create a lot more appetite and a lot more confidence in talent to enter the space. And that's going to be radical. And it already is. You know, I'm watching that sort of unfold, and I'm excited to see what's the next innovation. I would make some bets that because of the fragmented nature of the broader crypto collectibles space, because of that, we're going to see platforms that position themselves specifically focused on, you know, X vertical of intellectual property, or, you know, specifically focused around music, specifically focused around sports. I mean, we had Anthony on, like, they have a specific, you know, Autograph will have a specific kind of focus, which is celebrity, you know, based NFTs. And so the more that we develop that structure in terms of like the buyer ecosystem, I think there's going to be a really interesting opportunity for any number of talent. And so from where I sit, those are going to be exciting innovations.
You guys see any challenges with IP with the leagues? Obviously, we're seeing a lot of rumblings of the leagues starting to wonder what athletes are going to do separately, how they can lean in, obviously, league wide. Are you guys seeing anything that you're looking at as, oh, this could potentially become an issue for us to proceed with things that we're thinking about building?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, when we did the Gronk drop, we obviously did it independent of the NFL, independent of Tampa Bay Buccaneers, or independent of the New England Patriots. And, you know, we made sure not to use any marks. We covered the logos. We actually had the photos hand drawn, so they're an artist representation, not just using a photo from Getty or something like that. And we're really, really thoughtful and mindful in that. Obviously, you're still playing with fire a little bit, right? You never know what side of the bed the NFL is going to wake up on that day, and what that could mean. So it's obviously a little scary. And, you know, though you're following everything by the book, you just don't know what that could, you know, the ramifications of that are. When we worked with the Golden State Warriors, and you would think that a team that's worth like $5 billion and is one of the most successful teams in the NBA would have like autonomy to do what they want. But the NBA really put them in a box, and putting all the teams in the box, and they're saying, here's the guidelines. You can't use the jerseys. You can't use the balls. You can't use the players. You can't do this. You can't do this. You can't do that.
Well, especially I think too, because the NBA has made over $400 million this year on NBA Top Shop, and clearly have a very good thing going and are really cracking down. But sorry, go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, so it's, you know, the NBA is being very careful and didn't want these teams to just, you know, run like it was the Wild West. So the NBA even put one of their biggest and best organizations in a box on what they could do and not do. And you know, that part of it really makes it interesting, and it's going to be interesting how it plays out for players. The way we sort of look at it to an extent, though, is it should sort of be looked at as like their shoe deal, right? Every major NBA player is out there trying to get their shoe deal, and some sign with Nike or Jordan or Reebok or whatever brand. And this is their shoe deal, right? Their shoe is a representation of them. It's their own line. It's their own brand. They're out marketing it. They're out selling it. And an NFT in a way should almost not, you know, should be looked at in the same eyes. It wouldn't surprise me, though, in the next round of collective bargaining agreement for all these big leagues and with their player unions, that the league tries to take those rights from the players and control it a little bit more, right? Let's be real. A NBA player, if LeBron came out and did his own NFT, I don't think that has a positive impact on NBA Top Shop, right? It could be seen both ways. So you would think that the NBA may say, hey, look, we're making a lot of money on this machine. We can't have the players just, right? The same reason why a player can't sell their own jersey, essentially. So it's going to be this a little bit interesting dynamic. With that said, it doesn't need to just be what the players do on the court that needs to be represented as an NFT. And, you know, a lot of players do great things off the court, and that or off the field. And that could be an interesting way to separate what the league controls or the team controls versus what the player controls.
Totally makes sense. And in the nature of time, since we have to wrap up, I just wanted to congratulate all of you, because what you're doing in the space and figuring out and finding for everyone else will truly be historic. Joe, like you mentioned, everything that gets done is really the first of its kind. No pun intended to the limited nature of NFTs, but I so appreciate you guys. I realized I didn't introduce myself at the beginning, but I'm Shara Senderoff from Race and Space, and it was my absolute honor to have this conversation with you. And I know we'll continue to have the same conversations in the next 3, 4, 5 meetings for the rest of our day. So thank you. So appreciate it. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your week.
Thank you,
Thank you so
Sharon.
much. That was a lot of fun.
Thank you guys.
Appreciate it.
We'll talk soon.
Thanks, Sharon.